There's no shortage of horrible companies in the video game industry, but there's one that's been able to fly under the radar for way too long now, even though it's just as slimy and scummy as some of the more mainstream ones people like to spit on, and that's Nexon. You've probably heard of them because of MapleStory. That's by far their biggest game, their magnum opus, the cash cow that they're addicted to milking, and for a long time now they've been able to tiptoe around in the shadows, hiding their stink from the public nostrils. But last month, they flew a little too close to the sun, and we could start to smell their odor. And I swear to God, it smelled like shit. About a month ago, they decided to start bullying a smaller developer named Iron Mace, who's working on a game that I am a massive fan of called Dark and Darker. I've played every playtest so far, and I have been absolutely loving it. But love is a concept that doesn't exist at Nexon. Only cold, hard dollar bills that they were missing out on. They're like the Mr. Krabs of video games. So they started to put Iron Mace in their crosshairs, claiming that the Dark and Darker developers stole from Nexon. They said that not only did they steal code from an unreleased project at Nexon called P3, they stole assets from that project. And basically, the claims boiled down to there was an employee at Nexon back in 2021 who was working on a project called P3 that is similar to Dark and Darker. That employee apparently was talking about like leaving and starting their own company, kind of expanding upon this P3 idea. He ended up being fired, and then, fast forward to late 2022, we have Dark and Darker, which bears some resemblance to that P3 project. So Nexon is claiming that they stole from them, citing assets and code that was ripped directly from that unreleased project, as well as idea theft, saying that this was a Nexon idea and thus they don't really have the right to use it. Which is why that title is You Can't Copyright a Game Genre, because this is an extraction style game. It's a genre that's well established. The only spin on it is instead of being guns like Tarkov, it's medieval weaponry. And it fucking bangs. This shit fucks. It is amazing. I love Dark and Darker. And unfortunately now, Nexon has gone so far as to issue a police raid on their studio headquarters, and as I understand it, they didn't find anything there. They reassured fans that it was quick and nothing was found, and there will be no delay in development and nothing to worry about. So I'm guessing they went there and got a giant fucking nothing sandwich served to them. There was, I suppose, no stolen code, no hidden secret documents from Nexon, no Krabby Patty secret formula, just some hardworking developers and their project. But that's not where this story stops. In fact, today, this is why we're talking about it, today Nexon has once again escalated this conflict and issued a full-blown cease and desist to Dark and Darker, which has led to it being pulled from Steam. So effectively shut down for the time being, all based on these claims that it was stolen from them. Of course, Iron Mace denies all the allegations, saying that Dark and Darker's code was built from scratch and its assets were either purchased from the Unreal Marketplace or designed internally. And if you've played Dark and Darker, you're going to notice like half of the assets in this game come from the Unreal Marketplace. I play a lot of shit on Steam new releases, and I can recognize half of the models in Dark and Darker from all of the other games I've played. And that's not a problem. The assets are there for a reason. Plus, it's still like in very early playtesting stages, so of course they're going to be using assets. I don't know what fucking assets they're even claiming are stolen from Nexon unless Nexon like has some kind of monopoly on the Unreal Marketplace where it's all their assets. They're like the kingpin and their drug empire is the Unreal Marketplace. It just doesn't make any sense because, again, half or even maybe more than half of Dark and Darker uses just standard store-bought Unreal assets. So to me, the claim is extremely confusing. Like, I don't even feel like Phoenix Wright could make an argument that some of these assets are stolen from Nexon's unreleased P3 project because, again, so much of Dark and Darker is Unreal assets. Like, I can't imagine them being like, oh my god, that rock that's in the middle of that prison cell is actually from P3. I'd recognize it anywhere. That is a distinct rock that was developed in-house at Nexon. It's our pride and joy. Oh my god, and that chalice that players can collect, that golden goblet of fire, that was from Nexon. You've stolen it from us. Like, I don't know where there's even wiggle room for them to make claims that some of these assets were stolen because so much is from fucking Unreal assets. But regardless, moving forward, Iron Mace developers have, of course, made a statement about this whole thing. They've said, to all our fans, we have recently been served a cease and desist letter and DMC takedown by Nexon regarding Dark and Darker based on distorted claims. We are currently working with our legal team to remedy this issue in the best manner possible. Due to the sensitive legal nature of this issue, we must be careful with our statements so as to not jeopardize our position. We ask for your understanding as we work to get the game back up as quickly as possible. Please know that we will do all that is possible for our fans. Thanks. A very sweet message. Throughout this entire discourse, Iron Mace has seemed extremely professional. I just want to point that out. They have seemed like absolute sweethearts here in the face of bullshit. This, to me, I'll break this down and give my whole perspective on this after researching all of it. This, to me, feels like Nexon bullying a smaller company because they feel like they've missed out on a golden goose here, because Dark and Darker has become extremely popular, and they did have an idea that was similar to it called P3. P3 never got off the ground, Dark and Darker did. This really feels like it's almost some level of vengeance and spite against Dark and Darker's success. Nexon has hundreds and millions of dollars they can throw into the shitter at this and completely bleed Iron Mace dry, since they are a smaller company and they're going to fight this legal battle tooth and nail, it seems, which is extremely upsetting considering these claims aren't 100% proven to be accurate anyway. In fact, at least according to Police Raid, they didn't even find any evidence to support the claims, but yet they've still managed to DMCA cease and desist this game and get it removed from Steam. And now Iron Mace is going to have to engage in a lengthy and very expensive legal battle with this absolute titan of douchebaggery. Nexon is just an absolute trash company, and even if every single one of their claims is accurate, 100% truthful, they're still a horrible, garbage piece of shit company regardless, even from everything outside of Dark and Darker. Even before this, they've been a terrible company, but this especially. And I'll go a step further. Maybe we're getting into dicey, spicy territory here, but I'm just gonna say it with my whole chest. If all of Nexon's claims are accurate, Dark and Darker did take that idea from Nexon and build upon it, and even if they used a couple of assets that they developed while working at Nexon, I don't give a fuck. In fact, I view them more as heroes. I respect them more if they did that, because Nexon can suck the dirtiest part of my asshole. I cannot stand that company. I think that would be great if that really was the case. I don't think the Nexon Corporation should have the legal right to have this stranglehold on a video game idea that they didn't even make themselves. This idea was cooked up by the creative minds that were let go from Nexon in the first place. Thus, since they're no longer at Nexon, I feel they should be able to explore that idea and build upon it privately in their own way at their own studio, even though that idea was something they may have had while working elsewhere. They are no longer working there, that company is no longer working on that project, thus the team that actually made the idea and the prototypes should be able to take that work and build upon it on their own. I don't know if that's a hot take, but again, assuming every claim from Nexon is accurate, even still, it makes it clear that the idea and the work was done by employees that were let go from Nexon. Thus, it shouldn't be their idea anymore, Nexon's idea. It should be the individual's idea who actually came up with it in the first place. Thus, I feel like they should have the right to continue to work on it if they choose to. But again, it's important to reiterate that as of right now, there's still no real hard evidence against Iron Mace. Nothing that's really supporting Nexon's big claims of stolen code, stolen assets, and shit like that. So we're just going to have to wait to see how all this unfolds, but it's really disappointing to see that Dark and Darker is no longer up on Steam, because another playtest was right around the corner that I was extremely excited for, as were a lot of people. So hopefully this situation can get resolved pretty quickly. That's about it. See ya.